Hey, so I'm going to be trying to do a few of these kind of vlogs. You have to excuse my car, it does make a lot of beeping noises, by the way. A few of these little vlogs where I'm going to drive. Well, I'm driving to a place and I'm going to speak to you guys as I do it. So, as we depart my humble abode right now, basically, let's make sure there's no cars flying this way. Basically, the reason for doing this is I want to be a little bit more transparent with you guys about what I do, why I do it, and the journey I have been on and the journey I am on, you know. So basically, as we kind of go through the journey of health and fitness, which is what I coach, what I teach my clients, it's really important to remember the general rule of thumb that we are looking at building more than just your body. We're looking at trying to develop your mindset as well. And I'd almost see myself now as a bit of a coach in terms of I wouldn't say I'm a wellness coach, but I definitely focus a lot on the mindset side of stuff because, just watch out there, because I had to work on a lot of that stuff myself. And I feel that a lot of my clients come into my program, they're in the position I was once upon a time. So let me cut back to the start of this. If you don't know who I am, if you don't know who the hell I am and what I'm talking about, and you're still watching, fair play to you. My name's Mark and I run a company called Zenith Fit. Okay, now Zenith Fit started off as a face-to-face, in-person business around about 2014, so we're looking at 11 years ago. Started in my parents' garage, believe it or not, which was very, very kind of humble beginnings, obviously. Fair play to my parents for letting me do that, and just started to build up a client base. I was working in a factory at the same time, so I was just kind of working in the factory 8 till 5. I would do PT before I'd go to work. I would do PT when I finished work, just turn off my aircon, randomly turns on now and again. I do PT after I finished work, and as a result of that, started to develop the business, started to get great results with clients. Word of mouth started kicking off as well, and then over time, I got to a point where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna have to kind of quit my job here and go full on into this. And it was something I was super, super passionate about, and I'll get into why I was super passionate about it in a minute. But eventually I got to a point where I was like, right, I need to quit my job and go into this full time. So I did. Put all my efforts into it, and it started to really, really build and build and build. And then I got approached by a gym who was just a local gym they were redeveloping their gym, and they were like, listen, do you want to be our kind of resident PT? You can pay your kind of rent there and develop your business. And I did that, went into it full force and developed the business and the brand to a point where I was probably doing 50, 60, if not 70 PT sessions a week, which I do not recommend. Looking back now, I was knackered, I was burnt out, I was working 6 a.m. until 10 p.m, 5 days a week, Saturday mornings as well. It was pretty full on, to say the least. Let's just go left here at this roundabout. If this car in front fancies moving. Lots of beeping going on, guys, lots of beeping going on. So yeah, anyway, went into that and started to develop the business flourished, if I can speak properly, flourished the business from there, which is cool. Now, the reason I got into all of this to start with, I'll give you a little background story on me. Basically, I was a kid who was chubby. Got taken the piss out of quite a bit for being chubby. Didn't really help my self-esteem as a kid at all. So what I did, and this kind of shows I've had a decent level of self-discipline the whole time. So over the course of my life, I went full force into not eating. I went full force into exercising like an absolute maniac. Just threw myself at it, and eventually became borderline anorexic. Definitely had an eating disorder because I wasn't eating properly. Became very frail and wasn't a good place. And what I've learned over time is that your brain needs food, needs fuel as well. So the less fuel you give your brain, the worse you feel. You know, you feel shitter and shitter, and then it's a bad situation to be in. So in the meantime, while all this is going on, I was actually a half-decent football player, and I was trying to become a professional football player. It was my dream, you know, as my dream from a kid, as most kids. It was their dream, and I managed to get a contract with a club called Rochdale in the northwest of England, just outside of Manchester, if you're not sure where that is, and moved up there at 15. Moved into Rochdale at 15, and I was in a position where I was skinny, I could run Jesus, I could run. I was doing like 4-minute miles for 3 or 4 miles in a row. I was rapid at running, quick, and long distance was decent, middle distance, I guess, that is. So I was doing that, and I wasn't in a great place from a mental standpoint, got very homesick, didn't work, came home. After about 9 months, came home, and then signed for a local professional team back near home, because I wanted to be home, because I was homesick, end of the day, and started to build up my relationship with food and exercise a bit better through my own kind of, off my own back, really. I started to read a lot more about it. I read Men's Health a lot, actually, and looking back again, a lot of the stuff in there is like nonsensical, but it did help teach me to have a better relationship with food, how to fuel your body correctly, how to train correctly. And then over time, I started to turn it all around, okay? I went and had stints in America, lived in America, worked over there, stints in Australia, worked over there, that kind of thing. But the general gist of that is that I went to a point of feeling very, very low about being overweight and chubby and not happy with how I looked. And then I went through a point of being underweight and very, very unhappy that way as well. So I've kind of seen both sides of the coin. And this is why I went into the health and fitness space. Because one, I absolutely friggin' loved feeling good. Yeah, that's the first thing. I friggin' loved feeling good. And the main point I feel of all of this is about feeling as good as you possibly can. You know, yes, we might want to look good. Yes, we might want to have a 6-pack and all that jazz. But if you're not feeling good, you can have a 6-pack and feel like shit, and that doesn't get you anywhere, right? Let me just maneuver this roundabout right here. A lot going on, a lot of traffic. Saturday afternoon, a lot of traffic. So yeah, that's basically why I got into the space. I love health and fitness. And then I felt, you know what, I can probably help people do this, because I've done pretty well, got into good shape, started feeling good about myself, and thought I could help other people, started the business, yada, 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 all that kind of jazz, yeah? And the overriding kind of thing that I'm trying to get at here is that there's far more to all of this than just looking good. It's about the whole feeling good concept, and it's about enjoying the journey, enjoying the process. And this is something I'm mad keen on, is about enjoying the day-to-day. So you will never ever hate your workouts. You'll never ever, you might hate the odd workout if you're feeling knackered, but you'll never ever need motivation ever again if you enjoy the process and learn to enjoy the process. And that comes from being super consistent with things. And that's where coaches step in. You know, we can help people be consistent because they are accountable to you, and you're like in their ear saying, listen, what you're doing, when you're doing it, all that kind of jazz. So that is what really drives me now to help people. It isn't just from the physical point, and yes, I know if you can lose weight you'll feel more confident, but I really do approach it now from a more mental health aspect and coach people from a positivity standpoint, self-awareness, self-esteem standpoint, just to help really revolutionize their life. That is more of what I'm looking at doing nowadays, rather than just the physical results, all that kind of stuff. I'm looking at helping people revolutionize their whole lives, reshape their whole lives, and people do it. People literally change how they feel, how they look, and how they feel, and how they approach life, and their confidence levels surrounding life as well is just insane. And there's a reason why a lot of the most successful people in life have got kind of regimes and kind of routines around health and fitness. It's because it gives you an element of control, and when you have that element of control you feel more confident. When we're in control of things we feel confident, right? If you're not in control of your diet, if you don't know why you're binge eating at the weekend, if you don't know why you're snacking when you're watching Netflix at night, if you don't know why you cannot get up in the morning and you keep pressing snooze on your alarm, you're not in control, and that feeds into you feeling less confident. Whereas when you can start to build more control around those things, that is when confidence starts. That is when confidence really, really starts to compound. That is when self-esteem starts to compound, and that is when you can absolutely, just going to run through that red there, no good. I did stop, don't worry. And that's when you can absolutely, oh, it's on green again, fantastic, change everything from your relationships, from your career, from your health and fitness standpoint, from your energy levels, from your sex life. All these things that we want in life to be at their optimum can be through a result of having more kind of routine, more structure with your health and fitness, with your nutrition, with your training, with your exercise. It just compounds into feeling phenomenal. Now, having said all of that, I appreciate there's nuance to it. People have different scenarios in life. People have young kids. You know, you might not be sleeping well. People have busy careers. People work night shifts. Yeah, that's all relative. But I want you to, that's all taken into account. But I want you to really think about it this way. If you could literally be at your best every single day, do you think you could give your best to all of those different elements of life? Could you give your best to your family? Could you give your highest energy level to everybody? Could you do the best in your career if you had your optimum level of energy, of confidence, of just walking into a room and thinking like, yeah, you know what, I own this room. If you had all of those things, all of the other stuff just gets better and better and better, doesn't it? But what we tend to do as human beings is we tend to hold back on giving ourselves a bit of self-care, a bit of self-love, and we give it to everybody else. And all that ends up happening there is that you empty your cup so much, you cannot fill your own cup after. You give everybody else so much stuff, you literally cannot give yourself anything. And then you just become drained and you start resenting things. And I'm not saying whether you'll resent your family or whatever, but you might resent your career, you might resent yourself a bit more, you know, just because you're not giving yourself enough. So that's something I want you to bear in mind as well, is that you need to give yourself a little bit more self-compassion, a bit more time to actually improve the situation you're in, because when you do that, it helps everyone else's life, it helps everyone else's situation. It's not a selfish thing to give yourself time to work on your body, on your mindset, on just work on yourself. You know, it's not a selfish thing, because you are going to give back tenfold to everybody else. So that's something I wanted to touch upon as well. That's something I speak to my clients about quite a lot, actually, because most of them don't do it. Most of them are just give, because a lot of people are generally nice people, aren't they? You know, we think about it, most people are generally nice. Yes, there are some arseholes in the world, of course there are, but most people are generally nice. But when we are generally nice, we just want to help other people, and that is no good if you are trying to improve your situation as a human being. So yeah, that's what I wanted to get across with that. Yeah, so where was I? Gone off on a slight tangent there, but I wanted to get that point across to everybody. But yeah, essentially it's all far bigger than just losing weight, getting fit, getting shredded. It's about the whole picture, and it's about appreciating where you are now and visualizing the person you want to become. So something else I talk about with clients a lot is thinking about the person they want to be, and who do they want to become? What does that person do on a daily basis? Do they get up at 5 a.m. every day, get a workout done? Do they go for a walk with the family every evening? Have they got the career that they've always wanted? Have they got a business that they've always wanted to start? Think about that person in 5 years' time. And then what we can do is we think, right, what the habits does that person have? And then we build it back. We reverse engineer from that situation. So we say, right, the person you want to become goes to the gym at 5 a.m. every day, gets a workout done, they're ripped, they're shredded, they're an absolute boss, yeah? So we say, right, you're not going to the gym at all right now, so let's start going to the gym. The very first thing, let's start the basics, start going to the gym. And then in 3 months' time, you might say, right, let's start going at 6 a.m. Set your alarm for 6 a.m. and let's go 3 times a week at 6 a.m. And then in 3 months' time after that, you might say, right, let's start going at 5 a.m. And then within a year, you've already got that certain element of your life that you wanted to achieve moving forward. So that's one done, okay? And you can do this to all elements, all habits that person has, because it's just about compounding those habits over time. But it might seem like something small. So you might want to be I don't know, an athlete, yeah? But you don't go to the gym at all at the moment. All right, so where do we start? Well, we've got to start walking. Give me 10,000 steps a day, something like that. Maybe even 5,000 steps a day if you're struggling. Then we start to build, and then you say, right, in 3 weeks, we'll go to 7,000 steps a day. In another 3 weeks, we'll hit 9,000 steps a day. In another 3 weeks, we're going to start running a couple of miles, you know, and then we just build and build and build, and you compound those little habits over time. And then over the course of 5 years, that's an astronomical change. Compounded interest. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term compounded interest with finances, but when you keep stacking over time, that compounded interest becomes humongous. And it's definitely something I want I want a lot of people to kind of bear in mind, so you don't have to make wholesale changes straight away. All you need to do is focus on one small habit, do it consistently. People don't do things consistently enough, and I think people, when they don't see the results they want straight away, they start to get a bit frustrated and they start to not believe in what they're doing. But if you are just consistent with it and stay the course, you can 100% achieve absolutely friggin' anything you wanted. You actually can. So yeah, it's starting to pour down here. I don't know if you can hear that over the microphone. It's starting to absolutely hammer down. British summertime has well and truly gone. But yeah, hopefully that's made sense. All right, I just want to I'm going to be doing a few more of these kind of vlogs in the car, because it's just a good chance for me to kind of speak about what I believe in as a coach, what I believe in as a human being, the situation I'm going through in certain elements of life. You know, pretty good place at the moment, which is cool. I'm happy as Larry with that. Just make sure they're not coming round. Yeah, got nothing to complain out with life at the moment. Business is business, you know. It's just, it can be stressful at times, but I'm doing a lot of kind of self-development myself at the moment. Really working on my self-development side of stuff. You know, I'm getting involved in the meditation. I'm starting to read a lot more. I try and read 10 pages at least once a day. If I try and read 20 pages a day, that's a good position to be. I write down my gratitude. You know, I always used to think that was kind of a bit hippy dippy shit, you know, all the kind of writing down what you're grateful for, but it's an absolute game changer, to be quite honest, when you write down and you think, you know what, I'm just grateful for the fact that I live in a house, so I wake up in a warm bed every day. You know, when you can do that first thing in the morning, it just puts it into perspective, you know, it puts your whole life into perspective. And I know a lot of the time we can kind of think about how life's tough, how life's hard, but when you compare your situation to a lot of other people, you're in a pretty good damn place. If you're watching this now, you're in a pretty good place, I would have thought. You know, you've got laptop, you've got YouTube, you've got a phone, smartphone, whatever. So yeah, it's just writing down those little things every single day, reading a bit more every day, trying to meditate for 10-15 minutes every single day, just trying to get out of my head sometimes. You know, we can get caught up in this whirlwind of the rat race that is life, and if you can kind of get out your head a little bit sometimes, it can make the world of difference in terms of your overall perspective on life. And I heard something really cool actually on a YouTube video I watched the other day by a guy who's like insanely cool, and he's got fantastic business and his mindset's in the right place. And he was walking in the mountains and he was like, there's something about mountains. Why do humans like mountains? This is the last thing, I'll leave you with this one, by the way. He's like, why do humans like mountains? And he just thought, you know what, it's because it gives us perspective, because we feel kind of insignificant next to them. So yeah, got cut off there, by the way. But it was talking about the mountains, and basically why do we love mountains as human beings. And it's because they make us feel insignificant, they make us feel small, they make us feel as though there is a bigger world out there, and there's so much more to life than our little bubble that we feel ourselves in. So yeah, anyway, my phone storage was full, that's why that video stopped then, so I better get off this thing. But hopefully guys, you've enjoyed this video. If you want to check out some more of my videos, please do. I'm sure one of them will pop up around this screen somewhere in a second. Click on it, it's going to be useful. I just give out informative education, that's all I do. I give out informative information all the time. It's nothing kind of like cringy or anything, it's just me helping people. That's my idea, that's my kind of concept in my business, okay? So yeah, anyway guys, my phone keeps dying because it keeps saying that the storage is full. So thank you very much for tuning in. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video. I'll be doing plenty more of them in the future, because I really enjoy this kind of thing. It gives you guys a bit more kind of context about who I am, what I do, and my kind of thoughts on stuff. So have a great one, take care, subscribe to the channel would be fantastic if you could, just to support me. And yeah, I'll speak to you in the next video.